Salvaging Craftsman EZ3 Lawnmower, Seat, Hood, and Body. William Hovey Smith, 2024. This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. Today, we're going to start disassembling this Craftsman's lawnmower. I drug it down from Atlanta a few days ago, and well, I'm going to salvage parts of it to rebuild a lawnmower that was inherited from my late brother-in-law. And this one did a very little bit of mowing, comparatively speaking. It has relatively few hours on it, but the rear end is shot. And I had to literally drag it onto the carport in a previous video. One big question is what components on this tractor are actually interchangeable, because these two have different engine sizes. The one I just picked up has a smaller engine, a 15.5 horsepower, compared to the one you're looking at now, which is 19.5 horsepower. Now, on the ground, you see the rear hitch plate, and yeah, well, those have every appearance of being identical. So that's a good sign. I'm going to salvage that bracket because that fits the bagger, which I also got, but did not get with the original machine. I'm going to start at the rear of the mower and take the components off that I'm going to swap and immediately move them so I don't have quite so many nuts and bolts and fastenings and whatever to remove and keep track of at the time. I'm detaching the seats using opposing wrenches. Once they break, they go pretty fast. Now I'll replace them with the best looking pair of nuts and bolts. For adjusting the seats, the one on the mower 1 uses a nut and bolt, and the other has this attachment, which I think I like better. So I believe we're going to swap those out. I have the new seat mounted, but when I sit on it and try the key, I have exactly the same results as I had in mower number 1. That is, nothing happened. So I think that safety switch is defective. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that and put the old one back on this new seat and see if that will work some better. We have the safety switch ready to reattach. These are 2 spacers and round-headed carriage bolts and a couple of springs, which are a bit rusted, but okay. And this works. Okay, so all that seems to be all right. Index anything in, like yay. Now the nuts will tighten up on the spacers, and one went down in the neither region somewhere, but have no fear, for there are others. All right. Tighten those up, and I think we'll be good. Support this channel by buying my outdoor books, business books,
novels and recommending them to local libraries. I have a number of books. Among them are outdoor books such as Backyard Deer Hunting, which is a primer on the subject, Crossbow Hunting, the most complete book ever published about the crossbow, Create Your Own Job Security, intended for middle management, a more general book, Make Your Own Job, Anytime, Anywhere, at Any Age, which means exactly what it says, Real Wealth, How to Obtain and Keep It, about the real meaning of what being wealthy is, my novel, Until Death Do You Part, An American Family Meets Their Sicilian Cousins, which is a rollicking good mafia tale, and then The Gold Farm Chronicles, which is set in modern day in Detroit, West Texas, and the family goes on trial for capital murder.
At the end of our first afternoon's work on the Craftsman here, we have managed to swap out the seats successfully with the other lawnmower. We have removed the battery. We have also removed the battery box and recovered it. And we made an interesting discovery that these springs and the bolts connected them to the frame is the attachment with the rear part of this body. Now it is obviously further attached somewhere forward, but it looks like we'll be able to take it off without too much problem. And I might as well take off the hood because I need to replace that on my other mower. Removing the hood is a pretty easy lift. What we need to do is pull the electrical plugs here, and then the hood will just lift off and reattach. Okay, that done. All right, and we now have the hood. The question now is, will it fit the other mower? The answer is yes. So what I suspected all along was true. Craftsman used the same frame and basically many of the identical components to build all of their lawnmowers of this type. So if you have one and can get another, well, you probably have a lot of spare parts that you can use. My problem is the electrical connections on the wiring are not of the same type. Well, several possible solutions. Perhaps the most obvious is to put the original hood back on. The most obvious is to put the original hood back on and use that wiring harness. I need to remove the bracket, however, which is twisted, and so we can swap those out and put on the original hood. When I started working on this mower, this battery dated 3/19 has long since expired, and I can't get it to take a charge anymore. So I'm going to have to swap this out. I vote today, so I'm going to go in town and whilst I'm there, get a bunch of batteries sold and get a new replacement for this one. The fuel line I have to replace goes underneath that battery retaining plate. So I'm going to need to remove that plate as well. The steering mechanism here I've replaced new, but there is an annoying amount of free movement, almost a quarter turn in the steering wheel. And I'm hoping that perhaps the newer components might help that. However, when I look at the free steer on this one, it's very nearly as bad. Doing the guy thing and looking at the instruction book last, we find that the attaching bolts and nuts are right here, underneath the rubber foot pads. So that's a very simple remove. I happen to have previously built a tool for such use, so we shall see how it does. Okay. This bolt has a square shank at the head, and so hopefully we'll be able to free it. Loosening. Okay. All right, free. There we have those components. It wants to come, but it's caught by these bolts. So I think if I pull those bolts, maybe we can make it. I'm not sure if we're going to get it over that knob or not, but let's see what happens here. All right. Coming. We needed just a touch at the front. Now, so far as I know, it should come. All right. And it does. Okay. Good piece of construction there. Well, I feel like I can go cast a vote now.
To be continued. Hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Goodbye and God bless.